Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to a new edition of the Urban Sentinel live show. And I'm your host, Reggie Kearney. I need to change my name too from Reginald to Reggie. My mother always called me Reginald when she was mad at me. But hey, neither here nor there. But I want to welcome you all to a new edition of the show. It's a byproduct of Kearney Media, and also it's a part of the Urban Sentinel magazine. So glad to have you here tonight to view this show, and I think you will really enjoy it as we bring on my relationship guru, Raven Thistle, and we're going to talk about what we always talk about when we're Raven, your state of mind. So, Raven, how are you doing tonight?
Hi, I'm doing great. I'm in an elevated state of mind. How are you?
No, I'm doing fine. I can't complain. If I did, nobody would be listening to me, so I keep it to
myself. I will listen to you.
Oh, boy. So tonight, okay, the last time we were talking about a month ago, we were talking about relationships, and tonight we're going to talk about how some women and also men take their hurt from past relationships into new relationships, and how that can cause problems in the new relationship. And so Raven is going to give all you men and women that may be hurting for one reason or another some advice on how to handle someone that's coming out of a relationship into a new relationship, but they're bringing some pain and hurt with them. Am I correct, Raven?
Yes, you are absolutely correct. And I think we all enter relationships with some degree of pain or trauma or beliefs that we developed in previous relationships. And sometimes those relationships are romantic, sometimes they are friendships, sometimes they are family relationships that have caused us pain, trauma, or perceptions and beliefs that we bring into the new relationship that hurt our new partner. And so the advice or what I would say to somebody who is dating someone who they would describe as a quote unquote hurt person, I would ask if one, do you want to be with that person? Like, now that you have seen this is how their hurt plays out, and their journey to healing that hurt will mean that I have to basically suffer in some ways, or I will be hurt in this way that it plays out for them. And am I willing to do that work with them? Am I willing to? And then the next question is, are they willing to do the work of growing and healing? It's not going to happen overnight. If let's say that it is a woman and she's hurt from previous relationships and she has an attitude, like for her, it plays out with her just being moody and snappy and short, just having an attitude. And maybe she acknowledges that, yes, I know I have a bad attitude and it's something that I really want to change. It's something that I really want to fix, and I'm working on it. And, in the meantime, while she's working on it, it's not going to go away overnight. Are you willing to deal with that? Are you willing to be the guy who is patient with her while she works that out? Are you going to love her through it? Are you going to listen? Are you going to, take the brunt of that and be a healing place for her? And then vice versa. Let's say ladies, or, maybe same-sex couple, whoever you are, that the man has a mother wound or even a father wound, and he shuts down and he doesn't communicate. He is, withdrawn at times when you need him to be present. Are you willing to, if he acknowledges, yes, I know that that's something that, hurts you, and it's something that will get between us if I don't fix it, and I want to fix it and I want to work on it. Are you going to be willing to go through the process with him of working that out? And it's going to take patience. And any relationship that you get into, the woman with the attitude, she can say, well, he just couldn't deal with me. This is just how I am. It's who I am. So I left him behind because he couldn't keep up. He was weak. And then she goes into the next relationship, and guess what? It's still you. So you're still gonna keep showing up that way in every relationship. You're gonna have the same problem until you work on you. Same thing with the man who withdraws. You can't, blame it on the other person and not take the brunt, because it's gonna follow you into the next one. So if you find yourself in relationships with people who are hurting, the question is, one, and first and foremost, do I want to invest my emotional energy into their healing journey and walk with them and take on this with them? And two, do they want to do the work with me as well? You first, them second.
But I think in most cases you're going to find in today's society, most women and men aren't willing to probably work with another person to get through that hurt and pain. I think they're going to feel like, hey, I can go into, to the next person and find me a relationship where I don't have to put up with somebody trying to get themselves together, come out of a hurtful relationship. I think we all been through it, and during our lifetime, I know I've been through it at least one time, but I think we all been through it, where we've had someone hurt us and we just say, we just withdraw from the world.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You're right. You can't just leave and go to someone else. And that someone else is going to have something too. All of us has something that we are working through and healing with. So the question is, do I want to deal with this person's stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is no, absolutely, you can go find somebody else.
Right.
But you know that your stuff is still going to come up.
Mm-hmm.
And that person's going to have their stuff too. So it's about figuring out, which person's stuff can I deal with? Do I want to deal with? Who is really serious? And if you've been in a relationship for a while with somebody, the question is, have you seen any growth? Not have you seen them grow completely out of it, but have you seen any progress? And you can go from there. And even then, even if you've been in a relationship with somebody and they do have progress, you have to ask yourself every day, every week, every time it comes up, am I still okay with this? Am I still okay with this journey with this person?
But couldn't either person, one or the other, couldn't they mask what they're feeling and what they've been through, and then you would never know?
You'll know eventually. You can't mask it forever. It's going to come out one way or the other. If you're there long enough, you're going to see it. But yes, people do that. People mask. People absolutely mask. And sometimes we mask from ourselves. We tell ourselves a story about who we are. We believe ourselves to be the victim in situations. We believe that, a lot of times, this was me. This is my story, is that I was always the person in the relationship who, I didn't cheat. I showed up well for my partner, this, that, and other. And then my partner would do something dramatic. Like either they would be abusive, or they would be a cheater, or they would lie, or, just things like that are just really big things. And so I never had to work on my stuff because they were always the one who had the big stuff to deal with. So they were always legitimately to blame, and I didn't have to look at the way I was showing up.
Right.
Then I got into my first healthy relationship with somebody who wasn't any of those things. Not a cheater, not a liar, not abusive, just a normal person with normal traumas that, for how they show up, normal pain from their own past that they process and deal with well, treats me well. And then now we're equals. And so now I'm equally to blame for things, So now for the first time, I'm confronted with myself, and my partner also has to deal with my stuff too. And as I'm growing through my stuff, I'm aware of it. I'm apologetic for the times and the ways that my stuff hurts my partner. And he's the same way. He's working through his stuff. He's apologetic for the times that his stuff gets on me. And we are gracious and patient with each other, but it takes practice, intentionality, work. and both of us deciding every day that we still want to do this with the other person.
But okay, so now, are we talking about single people? Because you could take this kind of stuff into a marriage also.
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
you could have had a relationship for 5 years, then you decide to get married, and the relationship has been good for the 5 years that you all been together, and you decide to get married, and then all of a sudden, once you get married, you get into the marriage, then all this stuff starts coming out.
Yep, that happened to me. That's why I'm divorced.
Okay.
But you know, and I can say that. But as time goes on, I've been divorced for 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
As time goes on, and I learn more about myself in this healthy relationship that I'm in now, my
Mm-hmm.
marriage was too toxic for me to ever have healed. And it was too toxic for my ex-husband to heal either. I wasn't the right person for him to heal with, and vice versa. So now that I'm with somebody in a safe place that I can heal, I can see, oh, I had some toxic things too about the way I showed up in
Mm-hmm.
that marriage. Even though my ex-husband, I felt he had some more obvious things. My things were more subtle, but they were just as toxic.
Mm-hmm.
So I think even in that marriage where, you know, the other person's stuff comes out later, you still have to make the decision whether or not you want to help them with their stuff. And in my opinion, when you're married, there is a bit more of an obligation to do that, to show up. Now, if the stuff that's coming out is abuse, then that's different.
Mm-hmm.
If it's coming out in ways that are abusive, then that's not okay, and you have to get out of there. That's ultimately what made me decide to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's also important to say, Reggie, that in my strong opinion, you cannot heal by yourself. You cannot heal from relationship trauma without being in a relationship. The only place that you can heal relationship trauma is in a relationship, because that's where it got broken, that's where it got hurt, and that wound is related to how you relate and connect with someone else. And so you need someone else to come and fix it. And that's scary. It's scary and hard. It requires a lot of vulnerability. What you can do by yourself is practice the skills for healing. And so, in my opinion, the skills for healing are vulnerability, honesty, graciousness. And when I say honesty, I'm not just talking about you're not lying. I'm talking about you're going the extra mile to tell the truth. That means calling the other person out sometimes, even when it's uncomfortable. It means learning how to have difficult conversations and lean into confrontation at times if you're not comfortable with that. And it also means learning how to shut up and be still at times where you really want to speak, but you shouldn't. Those are things that you can practice when you are single that prepare you for a relationship, to heal in a relationship and to have a healthy one. If you practice vulnerability, I practiced a lot of this stuff while I was single. I was single for 5 years before I met John.
Mm-hmm.
And so I practiced while I was on the dating scene, even though it was so terrible and, you know, just awful being out there with all the things. Uh-oh, Reggie, I hope you're okay. You all right? It was awful, but I used every opportunity, every situation with men as practice, because I knew eventually I would find the right person and I wanted to be ready. I believe that how you practice is how you play. So if you're out there being a player because you're single and you're out there trying to get it out of your system, it's not going nowhere. Those are habits that you're building. So when you get into your relationship, you're going to find it difficult to be completely faithful. You haven't practiced. So practice the tools for having a healthy relationship while you're single. Practice vulnerability, practice connection, practice not giving up on your friends when they go through hard times. Practice, you know, all the things you want in your relationship. And that way, when the person comes along, you'll be ready.
Now, wouldn't you say it's kind of hard, well, for a man, knowing how man operates, for them to say give up being a player for 2 or 3 years to prepare themselves to get married?
I don't think it's any harder for men than it is for women. I think it's equally hard for both sexes. I think that there is a narrative about being a man that we give men a lot of permission and excuses to be shitty people. And we
Mm-hmm.
don't give women the same permission and excuses to, we shame women for doing the exact same thing. But I don't think it makes it any easier for women. You know, women have a lot of options. Women have oftentimes more options than men. So it can be difficult for a woman to turn that down. I mean, I've been in a relationship for almost 2 years now, and there's at least one man in my DMs every week, at least one, usually more.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have any interest. I'm not, I'm not responding to these men who are in my DMs. And it's not hard for me because I've been practicing being selective for a long time.
Right.
If you practice, even if you are a man, like I'm not trying to shame anybody for going and get their freak on. Do your thing if that's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But do it selectively. I would recommend, like, if you want to go and explore, do your thing. Do it ethically, which means you're telling everybody the truth. You're getting tested. You're having them get tested. You're exchanging results. Go try everything. You want to try threesomes and stuff? Just be honest. Tell everybody what's up. Don't be out there lying. If you
Mm-hmm.
have built the habit of being honest and you have built the habit of being transparent, you're building the habit of being vulnerable, then okay, maybe you'll go into a relationship and you'll find a woman who she has the same values. But I don't like when people, they want to go let their freak flag fly. And then they also, when they're ready to settle down, which really means that they done lost their hair
Mm-hmm.
and they feel less attractive now. That's
Mm-hmm.
when they're ready to settle down, they want to find somebody who hasn't done all the things that they've been doing. That I think is a really unfair double standard. Get you somebody who has lived a little bit too. And then you won't be tempted to run out because like you can have a little more respect in what you have. She has the capability to do the same thing that you have the capability to do. She practiced the same things you practiced.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think it's unfair to go out there and be a player and then try to like level with somebody who doesn't know anything about that world. Um, I think that that's predatory.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But we getting off topic, Reggie.
Hey, yeah, I'm sitting here thinking about some other topics we can take this topic to and
Come
everything.
on, you
But
ready?
because it all intertwines, okay? Because yeah, a man or a woman, they can be a player, or I used to call them playettes, okay? They can go out on the dating scene and enjoy themselves for as long as they want to, and as players and playettes, and then they find themselves not wanting it no anymore, or either they get hurt through the process. They get their feelings hurt because they meet someone who's a match for them, too tough for them. Okay, so then they fall out of it. Okay, so then they decide, well, they don't want to do it anymore, but the damage has already been done. But they still have that urge to do it. And I think that's probably something they take into the marriage. That urge of wanting to be a player, because let's face it, it's more women out here than men. Okay.
Only a little bit more, Reggie.
Yeah, but still, it gives men a little more of an opportunity to act crazy, okay, or act
I think
stupid,
there's more
okay.
eligible women.
Yeah,
Eligible women. Because I
and,
think a lot of men are disqualified from dating.
right. And then what happens? They, like I said, they continue on living that lifestyle of trying to be a player and even taking it into the marriage and stuff, because they find themselves, they don't know how to walk away from a situation they may find themselves in as a married man. Okay, because there are women out here that prey on married men. Okay, because there are a lot of women that are very independent, and they'll tell you straight up, oh, look, I only need a man for one thing. Okay, but this man wanders off into the wilderness, falls in love with somebody who really is not looking for a relationship. And that's where the real problem started at. Because they sitting at home in the bathroom making phone calls, in the closet making phone calls, and because they can't let go of what was supposed to be probably a one night stand, even though it was wrong, they can't let go of it.
I think we have to call this exactly what it is. When you talk about that urge to go back out there and do that more and to get back out there, be a player, that player urge,
Mm-hmm.
what that really is trauma. because any person who has to go and get up under and on top of somebody else to feel whole is running from something. Why can't you be by yourself? What's wrong? What are you getting from all these women? Because and let's go back also to the language that we use. We call it being a player, right? Players are for games. People's bodies, people's hearts are not a game. And the fact that we have reduced sex, sexuality, relationship, and connection to a game as a society and as a culture is the problem. So that's why you have men who you've been with 500 women, you've been with 500 women, and you don't know how to connect with a woman. You've been with 500 women, you don't know how to listen. You've been with 500 women and you don't know what love feels like. You don't know anything about intimacy. And that is a shame. That's a self-robbery. So for the person who chooses to treat it like an urge instead of a wound, that's the person who ends up in a marriage and is unable to stop himself or herself from connecting with their partner. That's the person who can't resist the phone call, the whatever. It's trauma. And because that person doesn't hurt, now he doesn't just have 500 notches on his belt. He has 500 soul ties. He has 500 soul ties. And he has 500 pounds of whatever was in their womb on his lingam now. And I'm using Sanskrit Tantra language now. But like this is sexuality is spiritual. And there is no, even though there's this idea that men are able to separate sex from emotion, what that really is, that wall is a trauma response. It is somebody who was supposed to give you intimacy and connection in your childhood did not. You did not learn intimacy and connection. That is a part of you that is closed off, broken, wounded, that needs to be reopened and healed. And only when that player sits still and refuses to give in to that urge or to feed that inner child a fake intimacy, then will he come to terms with the fact that, damn, I'm actually hurting. I'm actually hurting.
But what's Nick Cannon's problem then?
I don't know what the hell wrong with that brother.
Oh boy. Okay, Salvatore says 500 women sounds like a man who may be a homosexual.
For sure, yes.
That's Salvatore. That's the first time I heard that.
It's so true. It's so true. So many men who are truly homosexual are running around masquerading as players. It's the reason I never settle down with a woman. And some men who are abusive toward their wife or their girlfriends, they have a string of women that they abuse. Angry because she's not a man. Angry at themselves. She'll never be able to make him happy. Listen to me, sis. If you're in a relationship with a man and nothing you do is good enough, nothing you do, you cannot show up good enough for him, baby, he is gay. Okay, he does not want you. He don't want you.
That's the first I heard that one.
Yes, going around hurting women. And you know what? Salvatore is right. Going around hurting women, you don't like women. You don't like women. If you enjoy and you take pleasure in disrespecting women, you don't like women. These men, there's a culture. There's a culture of men who takes pride in how many women that they can check off, right? You're not treating women like humans. You don't see them as humans. That's why so many in the culture now they call women females. Females this, females that. The problem with that is you're taking the humanity out of it, because it could be a female snake, a female spider, a female whatever. You know, put the word man back in it so you recognize that that's a human being. That's right? Or even a lady. Put some respect on that name. Class it up. And so I find that in these situations where men will call women females or treat them and dog them out, the only people that they respect are other men. They don't respect women. How can you have intimacy with somebody who you don't respect? You view women as emotional. Oh, she's so emotional. Like that's a negative thing. They're so emotional. You know, you wash it away. But
Right.
your homeboy, when your favorite basketball player is tearing up at the basketball game because he just lost, now you got tears in your eyes too. You can connect to that emotion because it's on your hand. But you connect to the emotion of a woman who's going through the pain that you caused her. That's my bro, that's gay.
Okay. Ain't never heard it.
Actually, I can't even put that out there as being like overarching gay because actually gay men tend to be comfortable emoting and connecting with everybody's emotions. So it's not always gay. Sometimes it's just a wound that they have to heal.
Right. Now, Mark was saying that he said, "How safe is it to admire other women when in a relationship?" I have seen some who are comfortable with that, and others who are not. Now, I do admire other women. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I think if God gave you two eyes to look, okay, then just because you look don't mean you're supposed to jump onto it and everything. But I don't think there's nothing wrong with admiring the beauty that you see in a woman, as long as you don't cross over that line to do more than just admire that person. You know, hey, with my gray hair and my ugliness right now at my age, I hope somebody sees me attractive sometime when they walk past. Oh, that's a good-looking old man, okay? I think we all want to have that feeling of being admired. So I don't have a problem with admiring a person, or even my wife. I mean, because I know women admire people. I ain't gonna say women. I think everyone sees someone that they admire and say, "Oh, that's a good-looking person," or they carry themselves well, or whatever. You know, I think where the real problem comes at if you maybe run into that person a couple more times, and then one time you by yourself, you cross that line to go a step further.
I think the line is the conversation to have. What is the line? You know? So I think every person's relationship, they should determine what is acceptable to them. Admiration can be safe, or it can be a violation. It depends on your partner, the rules and boundaries that you set in your relationship. But I also would say, for me, I legitimately don't find other men desirable besides my partner. I can see Michael B. Jordan. He is attractive. Do I have a desire? No. Do I have and that's internal. So really this is not about, like, it's about boundaries that you set with yourself as well. Like, spiritually speaking, from a spiritual perspective, my Tantra guru recently dropped a gem that still has my head spinning. He was saying how when people are in this sexual act with their partner or whomever, they may fantasize about someone else in that moment. They're fantasizing about someone that they have admired in another moment or another situation. And he was talking about how that is unconsensual, because now you are bringing that person's energy into this space. It's unconsensual for your partner, and it's unconsensual for the person that you are fantasizing about. So where the lines are for admiration is an interesting conversation, because you may be just looking just to look right now, but your brain is going to bring that image up to you later again. It's sort of like porn. Being on Instagram is very much like porn sometimes, with the type of content that's out. So, I think everybody has to determine what their personal boundaries are, what's okay with them. You are admiring, for me in my relationship, it's not okay with me. For my to be hyping other women up online, it's not okay with me. You can't be liking no, you can't be giving everybody your attention, your time, your energy. That's only for me. And if you don't like that, you can go be single and do your thing. You do whatever you want. And it's vice versa. For me, it's about respect. I respect my partner, and I expect him to respect me as well. But for some people, I know another couple that I'm friends with. They went to an event, a carnival event, and the The man in the relationship was just like oogling all the booties and just looking at everybody's head on a swivel the whole time. And she was okay with that.
Uh-huh.
She was doing it too. They feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. If that's your thing,
Mm-hmm.
do your thing. Do what's comfortable and happy for the both of you. But I would also just be very careful and make sure that your partner is not just going along with it because
Mm-hmm.
they want to make you happy.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, I think to a certain extent, okay, you have to draw boundaries, okay, because there's beauty in all sorts of things in this world, okay, and I think human beauty is something that's great. I mean, I really do, and I think you got to call it for what you see it, but I think you at the same time, what your status is, and you can't go jumping over that boundary. And I agree with you. I look at some of these ladies on Instagram sometimes, and I just wonder. I say, how do you? Yes, you are attractive, but how do you contain your attractiveness? And when I say contain your attractiveness, do you have to get almost butt naked to show that attractiveness? Okay. And a lot of them, if you see a lot of women on Instagram, they let it all hang out now. And I don't think it's a thing of they maybe lack self-confidence in themselves. I think they just want to show the world, hey, look, this is what I got, okay? And they don't mean you're gonna get any of it, but this is what I got, okay? And like you said, they get all these likes, they got all these people following them and stuff. But you just got to keep once you I think once you get it started, you got to keep it going, because if not, them likes are gonna start filtering away and people are gonna start following you. And then in some cases, it might be a thing of self-confidence for some women.
I think you can never know for sure what somebody's reason for doing, anything is. I always assume that when women are dressed however they are dressed, that they're dressing that way because they want to. I personally have been known to let it all hang out when I feel like it. If I feel like showing extreme amounts of cleavage, I definitely do that. If I feel like having my ass hanging out of my shorts, I'm definitely going to do that. And I do that because I feel empowered to own my body and myself and whatever I feel like doing. Do I do that all the time? Do I do it because I want attention? I promise you, I actually would rather no one look at me. I would prefer not to have the attention, but I know the attention comes with it. So whatever. So for me, I'm sure that people may look at me and think like, oh, she's trying. I do not care, Reggie. And I'm going to tell you why. I grew up with a lot of restrictions around how I was to dress and how I present myself. I was taught modesty culture, and don't be trying to look grown at a young age. And then, we talked a little bit about this last time about how where that came from, where the idea, because it's only in Black culture, the looking. But for me, when my body started to change and I first got my new boobs, I hated them because I was a tomboy. And my stepdad and my mother, they told me I couldn't play with my friends anymore. I couldn't go out and play basketball. All my friends were boys. I basically had to stop hanging out with my friends and be alone because now my body was different. And, then I had my grandmother telling me, you got to cover those up and try to hide them and make sure nobody's, just
nobody sees them and stuff.
And I felt shame.
Yeah.
Women, we're taught in that conservative modesty space to basically be ashamed of our body, just the way that it is. Meanwhile, I see men jogging down the street, no shirt on, and nobody's looking at him and thinking, well, he's just trying to catch somebody here. People are looking at him and thinking he's trying to work out and that's it. So when people look at me and think, oh, she's trying to, that's their problem. So when I go to the gym, a lot of times I have on my sports bra and my leggings or my short. I don't usually have a shirt at the gym. Right. I'm not the most fit person. I got rolls and stuff too. I don't care. And for me, it's partly empowering myself to just be free and do what I feel like doing. And a little bit rebellious because I want you to do question, like I want to make you question your own thought process about
Mhm.
how you are perceiving me. Why are you
Mhm.
thinking that? Um, so that's what I think. I don't really my friends make fun of me because I mind my
Mhm.
own business so much that I don't
Mhm.
even notice what's going on around me. Sometimes it's not a
Mhm.
good thing. I got new neighbors like months ago. I did not know that my old neighbors had even moved out.
Mm-mm.
So I barely notice what everybody else has on, but I do feel a little jealousy when I see men
Mhm.
running, jogging without their shirt on. I get jealous because it's like you don't have to worry about someone sexually assaulting you. You don't have to worry about people judging you or making
Mhm.
negative assumptions about you or feeling something. You don't have to worry about any of that. Somebody being uncomfortable because your body
Mhm.
is showing. I feel jealous when I see men jogging with their shirt off because I
Mhm.
know there will never be a day where in my lifetime where I as a woman can show off, can have parts of my body out
That's
and
right.
not be judged, not be
Mhm.
assaulted or any of that. That'll never happen for me.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you ain't got to worry about me running down the street with my shirt off, shooting my. No. Let me say, "Ooh, look at him! Look like he getting ready for Christmas. Look like he trying to be Santa Claus or something." But yeah, yeah, in the black community, it was like that. Okay, they wanted you to dress modest, and like Mark said, the black church has a lot to do with it too. Because you wouldn't dare walk up in the black church with a miniskirt on or a mini dress on. You better have something down at your knees and some stockings on. Salvatore says the U.S. thing with the booze weird.
It
But
is weird.
Salvatore, that's how men judge. A lot of men judge women by the booze. Okay, and then when I was coming up, you didn't see a whole lot of booze. Okay, I'm 65 years old, and I tell people, I say it must be the stuff they're putting in this food now. Making women grow and young girls grow proportionately now. But you always heard that coming up. The churches especially. You better go into the church dressed a certain way, and you better not have nothing showing. And I think you're right. That was a black community thing, and it probably has caused a lot of young ladies to go in a direction where they do want to express themselves by uh, showing so-called quote unquote sex appeal, you know. And yes, Salvatore, we here in the United States, we got a lot of growing up to do to be able to uh, accept people and accept things that go on in society as they are, and not see a woman as a sex object because she might walk down the street with a boob showing. Okay, because here in America, that happens. Woman might get in trouble for doing that. Because there's some crazy person out there. But you know,
So true.
yeah.
And I appreciate that Salvatore called out Italy,
Hmm.
France, South America. I haven't been to South America yet, but I lived in Italy for a couple years and
Hmm.
obviously spent some time in France as well. And in those places, there's a huge culture difference. And the main culture difference that I fell in love with was that it's people centric.
Hmm.
People matter in those countries. Like it's about the people. Yes, they have some capitalistic, ways, but in America, it's money that matters. And so we need women to feel insecure and uncomfortable in their bodies because that costs that pays. Like they will pay for things. If I can make
Hmm.
it like there's only one way to be beautiful, if you have to be skinny in order to show your tummy, and if you're not skinny and you need to look skinny, then here's some girdles, here's some things to help you look more like what we say you should look like. And then also to back on what you said about the Black community in the Black church, being a big source of that modesty culture. Absolutely, yes, 100%. But if we go back even farther, we have to remember that during slavery in America, uniquely, not in France, not in the French version, not in the European English, no, not there, but in the U.S., how there were prostitute houses that were just for little Black girls. There were rape of little Black girls. The modesty was a way for Black mothers to try to protect their daughters from,
Hmm.
from being preyed on by white rapists. And so the culture of modest, the reason why the modesty culture is so strong for us and different from other cultures, and there's this thing about not looking grown. They would try to make sure that their daughters looked as young as possible, too young, much too young for rape.
Mm.
Um, and that's a very sad part of our history that's very often overlooked, not discussed,
Mhm.
especially when we talk about the origins of modesty culture and why it's so much stronger in the Black community than it is with any other racial or ethnic group that I'm aware of. I got Puerto Rican friends. Yes, their parents feel some type of way about, the Catholic background and things like that.
Mm.
Asian, European, that's a whole different set of reasons. So, not saying that they don't have their own sets of modesty culture, but the origins for Black culture are also rooted in slavery and in the mass oppression and use of women's bodies as objects. And that's
Mhm.
why I think the Black woman has a unique hurdle to overcome when it comes to being objectified.
Mm. Good point. Good point. Because yeah, it was different with slavery. It was different with slavery because that so-called quote unquote unquote master was always more interested in his slave women and young girls than he was in his own wife. And Thomas Jefferson is a prime example. You know,
A disgusting human being.
yeah, is a prime example when you look at his family lineage. It's like he was out there.
He was disgusting.
Yeah, he was out there. He was absolutely out there. But yeah, but we still got to figure out what's going on with Nick Cannon. Is he? No, seriously, does a man have mental issues, problems, troubles, something, somebody punched him in the head, or he had a bad relationship or something? Something's going on with him, because in his eyes, what he's doing is no big deal, but I think it sets a bad example for young men who might not have the money he has, and they go out and try some mess like that. They might end up in prison because they can't pay the child support.
He's not paying for them kids either.
Well, I mean, he ain't paying enough, probably, but
He keeps getting in trouble because he's not paying.
yeah.
We got all these kids and he's not paying. But I think that well, first of all, I don't know that brother. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what I don't know. I can't even begin to understand what would drive someone to choose that type
Mm-hmm.
of lifestyle and create that type of lifestyle for themselves. Um, and I probably never will. But what I will say is that for the women, please don't allow somebody to do, please just don't be the fifth, sixth, seventh mother for that man, honey, please.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he is saying to these women. I don't know, but I just it I can't imagine. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that they're different too. They have a very different mindset or a different
Yeah.
set of goals in life than what I would ever understand. But
Mm-hmm.
sweetie, come on, you gotta want more for yourself than to just be one of Nick Cannon's baby's parents,
Baby
mothers.
mamas. And the thing about it probably would be different. He was just married to one person. He was having all the kids. That's another thing. You developing and you developing and portraying yourself as a family man. But gosh, just don't know. But I think with him, honestly, like I said, I don't know him either. I think there was probably a breakdown somewhere. Somewhere in his life there has been some kind of breakdown, and this might be a way this might be a way of him, surrounding himself with love. But you got to realize those kids gonna be older one day. Okay, they're gonna get the 12 and the 13 and 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds. They're not gonna want to be bothering him on a constant like they, probably deal with him there because they babies. They don't understand. But as they grow up and begin to understand, they might not want to be bothered with him.
I think children understand a lot younger than we realize.
Mm-hmm.
And Salvatore's comment, he said, is the woman, basically, is the woman to blame. And no, I'm not trying to blame the women for this. Nick Cannon is responsible for Nick Cannon's penis exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I am speaking from the perspective of a woman, just as a woman to women. If you already see that this man has so many children, whether he's taking care of them all or not. Don't set yourself up for that situation. It's just not a situation where you can be like exalted as a person. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and not that you can't be respected, but just out of respect for yourself, I would not choose that for myself, and I would advise my sisters against it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as for Nick Cannon, I guess I didn't say anything directed to him because I don't know. What do you even say? Like, what? Just, ugh, stop it. Stop it.
I think you see what Saboteur said.
Oh, he says Nikki's gay. I don't know if I
Ugh.
don't know if he is. I don't know, but I know he needs to sit down somewhere. I know that. Cut it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm thinking about the children. I'm thinking about the children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm divorced and I have two children that are
Mm-hmm.
product of my failed marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughters, they have to now have, and that now on one hand, when I left, I made the decision that they could possibly have two happy homes instead of one miserable one.
Mm-hmm.
And so even in the midst of them living in two happy households, their dad loves them, they have a great experience with their father. I love them, they have a great experience with me. They still hurt because they want one household. They tell me this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to have lots of conversations, and I
Mm-hmm.
have to remind them of why things are. And I have to hold them sometimes and just let them cry it out and process that together. And sometimes I will cry with them because I understand that this is hard. It's hard to miss one of your parents.
Right.
And I think about all of Nick Cannon's children missing their dad, and he's yet and still running off to make another one. I,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what his problem is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would like for the women to just keep their legs closed. And as women, I think we all need to raise our standards right now. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of bullshit out there that we could just avoid if we just stop. Like, just don't give any, just be alone for real.
Mm-hmm.
But I more care about the children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it hurts me to know that somebody is intentionally making children just to not be there and just to hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. But unfortunately, that's been the way of our society as a Black community. You know, it's been there. You know, there's a lot of guys out there that are not Nick Cannons or not has a lifestyle Nick Cannon have, and they out there doing the same thing. And I don't know how they do it, but they do it. You know, they
I
do it. You
I
know.
also want to call out, Reggie, on this platform and in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
that Black men are statistically more likely to spend, and they spend more time with their children than any other race of men in the US. They spend more time with their children when they are present than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You want to acknowledge that. But mass incarceration
Mm-hmm.
is a huge part of why a lot of fathers are not present in the Black
Right.
community.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that we don't have the largest population of any country,
Right.
except when it comes to the prison community?
Mm-hmm.
We have, what is it, 20 times the number of prisoners? And so the predatory nature of our the predatory nature of our law enforcement system and our prison system has a lot to do with why a lot of Black men are not present. And I'm not trying to excuse the deadbeat assholes who just choose
Right.
not to look for their children.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely those, for sure.
Yeah. So, man, we got a lot of work to do in our communities. You know, we got to have people that, you know, regardless of what community in, that are role models in the community to young men. You know, regardless of what the race is. You know, you got, you know, they have to be role models that show what having a family life is like. And we know that everything's not going to be perfect. Okay, you know, there's always going to be divorce. And that's going to happen. That's just part of the world, society. People grow apart from each other. That happens, you know. But, you know, I just can't get with, you know, someone who just wants to blanket the world with the kids, want to fertilize the world.
It's so crazy.
You know, I'm trying to figure this whole thing out, but he knows. He knows. Okay, I'll tell you, when we've had another great conversation here tonight, even though we did get off a little bit off another, but I thought about a whole lot of different other ideas and places we could go with these conversations and stuff, because we really need it. So, Raven, tell the people how they can get in touch with you.
You can't. No, I'm just kidding. You can definitely go to my YouTube channel, just Raven Thistle on YouTube. I also have an IBM TV network show there with, I think, like 12 episodes. Follow me on TikTok if you're looking for current, up-to-date content. I post a lot about how to be well, how to heal, genuinely heal and grow as a person. I also talk about relationships. So follow on TikTok and also follow on Instagram. On Instagram, I post a lot about my personal healing and growth journey. And I also make myself available as a healing and growth coach for group coaching. So if you're interested in group healing and coaching, cohorts and sessions, then you can DM, Instagram, or TikTok.
As always, Raven, excuse me. As always, Raven, it's been a pleasure sitting down talking to you. And I guess in another 6 to 8 weeks, we'll do this again.
Sounds good.
And I appreciate the guests that were on tonight. The comments were well received. Thank you for watching the Urban Sentinel live show. Go to urbansentinelmagazine.com to pick up the latest magazine. We're working on the next edition to get it out. And I do appreciate you all. So until the next time, till next Tuesday night, I will hope that everyone continues to have a great week and be safe out there and take care of yourself. Good night, everyone.